Hey there, friends. Dave Paulides, Canadian Missing Project, copyright edition for our video channel. Huck's sitting here right now, but she whispered in my ear, "Dad, I don't want to be on camera today." Okay. But today's the first day where I woke up and it was under 30 degrees in Montana. And taking Huck out first thing in the morning is a wake-up call. So, anyhow. Today, I'm talking about a very special case. Yeah, very special. It's an older case, but it hits on every profile point I can imagine. Which is a bit unusual because sometimes we don't get enough information on the case to really explain all the points. This one we did. Now, my latest book, this one, Missing 411 Washington, about Missing 411, does not have this case in it, even though this is a Washington case. We didn't find it until just recently. But my big announcement is that I just released a paperback edition of Bigfoot, Wild Man, and Giants. It's 544 pages. It is huge. And it's a tabletop book. I can't say enough about it. It took me about a year and a half to put this one together. It's the third edition. It's the biggest edition, and it has all of the stories in it that I talk about in my conferences, presentations on Bigfoot. So this is really the important one. You'll get to read the things, the articles. They're really, really good. And it really blows the lid off of the Bigfoot topic once you see these articles that nobody in the Bigfoot world wants to talk about. Just saying. And you can get that on our website, NA, like North America, nabigfootsearch.com. This is the perfect book. It's huge. It's the perfect book to buy. Put it on your coffee table and just don't say anything when people come over. And then they'll look at it, and they'll keep looking at it. And all it is 544 pages of news articles from 1680 to 1925. And articles about Bigfoot, except they weren't called Bigfoot way back when. Giants. It's a good one, folks, I promise you. So please check it out. About this story. Like I said, it happened in Washington. And a lot of people ask me, they say, "Well, Dave, do many of these stories of yours involve veterans?" Yes, they do involve veterans, many times, but oftentimes it's hard to tell if a statement somewhere in the background doesn't say so. Now, this case involves a man named Ernest Hostreeter, 24 years old, went missing July 21st, 1946 at 1:30 in the afternoon from the Granite Mountain Lookout right next to Snoqualmie Pass in Washington. Now, profile point number 1, Granite Mountain. Yes, folks, there's a mountain in Washington called that, and yes, when you walk up it, it looks just like granite. So, this is North Bend, Washington, Snoqualmie Pass, right there, and Granite Mountain is right next to it. This is east of Seattle, in some absolutely gorgeous country. And it's a location that has other disappearances that I wrote about in the Missing 411 Washington book. So now we can call this a cluster zone. Now, Ernest, at 24 years old, was a student at Seattle College. He'd been enrolled there since January 1946. He was a veteran. He spent 4 years in the Army Air Force as a crew member. He fought in France and in Germany with the 710th Bomb Squadron. He got a Purple Heart. He was injured. He came home after he completed his enlistment, and his hometown was Kalispell, Montana. Yeah, right in me, right where I'm at. Now, profile point number 2, Ernest was born in Germany, and he lived with his family when he wasn't in school in Montana. So July 21st of 1946, Ernest went with 69 other students from his class, and they went on a field trip up to Granite Mountain Lookout. Yeah, and there is a fire lookout up there. There was. Students all climbed up there. And it was led by a Catholic priest. I thought that was interesting. I don't know what class it was. They didn't say. But they get up there, and at about 1:30, the group decides to leave, go back to their vehicles. And they notice that Ernest wasn't there. So they do a search. They can't find him. It's almost like he disappeared under their noses. So the lookout contacts the Forest Service, says, hey, they got a missing student up on top of the mountain. Supervising forest ranger, a man named Hansmeyer, responded and took over the search. The rangers searched till dark all over Granite Mountain. And that day was a very warm day. It was about 90 degrees out. Now they found something very unusual. As they're searching the mountain, they find clothes strewn down the mountain, along with shoes. The clothes had documents inside that belonged to Ernest. Now, friends, you've heard about the theory of when people get real cold, they start stripping clothes. Well, that was not the case here because it was a very hot day. It was 90 degrees up in the mountains. So the forest ranger and the lookout searched that mountain till dark. They can't find anything. And they're confused because they're finding these clothes and got some paperwork in the clothes that belong to Ernest, so they know what they've got. So the next day, the supervising ranger contacts other rangers in the district and requests assistance in the search. They also requested military assistance because the area was vast. About midday on the 22nd, rangers believed that they found some barefoot tracks between Granite Lake and another remote lake. They started to track it and they lost them almost immediately. They again searched till dark. Up in this area, it stays dark in July to near 10 o'clock or afterwards sometimes. They didn't have anything. They didn't hear anything. They called his name. Nothing. July 23rd. The supervising ranger has a press conference. And the public was very concerned. It was a student missing way up in the mountains. Where is he? People said they found his clothes. What's that all about? A lot of questions. The ranger says that they aren't finding him and they have no clue where he's at. But they give him a 50-50 chance of survival at this point. Whoa. That's serious. Well, the ranger had also the day before requested canine units to respond. And Fred Wagner of Issaquah brought his trained bloodhound to the scene. And since they had Ernest's clothes, they had the dog go through the clothes to get the scent. At this point, the Naval Air Station at Sandpoint in Washington sent 9 soldiers up, and that supplemented the 23 U.S. Forest Service Rangers a handful of locals, a canine, and the handler looking for Ernest on that day. They focused on that lake area where they found the barefoot track, but they didn't find anything more. This area is filled with granite, small lakes, ponds, creeks, rivers. This time of the year, it had a lot of edible berries and tons of water. There was never an issue of water. So again, they searched to near 10 o'clock. There was one report that said that the canine picked up a scent for just a short period of time and lost it. The tracker said that they didn't find any additional barefoot tracks in the area. Everyone was pretty disenchanted at this point. And remember, they said the day before that they gave him a 50-50 chance of survival because it was such a rough area. July 24th. Search started again early in the morning. This time they had 25 rangers, 9 soldiers, and the bloodhound was still on scene searching. And then at 11 a.m., 19 miles from Granite Mountain, and outside of the far north end of North Bend, John Muchler, a man, was at his summer home when an individual walked up to him, naked except wearing underwear. This man explained that he was lost and needed help. It was Ernest. So imagine the scene. You're Mr. Muchler. This guy walks up, naked except for underwear and no shoes. That's a pretty bizarre scene, I think. Well, Mr. Muchler contacts the U.S. Forest Service and told them that he had Ernest and that Ernest was alive and was doing okay. Well, Supervising Ranger Hansmeyer arrives at the Muchler residence and started to evaluate Ernest. It was said that he had obvious sunburns and that he was transported by car to the North Bend Ranger Station for further evaluation. They were concerned about his health, and they had a doctor responding to the ranger station. Well, Ernest arrives at the North Bend Ranger Station, where a physician named Dr. Oscar Trott evaluated him. Ernest was questioned in the presence of some reporters and the ranger about what happened and how did he get lost and how did he get separated from his school and his fellow students. Ernest said that he had no memory of the afternoon that he disappeared or any memory of the following day. He said that he can remember the remainder of the trip, and he said it was rough. He said there were times that he was inundated with mosquitoes. Well, he had told the rangers that he was hungry, and one of the rangers brought out a glass of milk and 2 sandwiches, which he quickly consumed. Now, this might not be the best picture in the world, but that's Ernest. 24 years old, veteran. Ernest said that he was asked if he ever saw any of the searchers or heard the searchers that were looking for him. And he said, no, I never heard, never saw them. He stated he stayed alive by drinking water from the creeks and eating berries. Now, all of that makes a lot of sense because there were a lot of berries in that upper region of Washington State. Now, the physician, Dr. Trott, told a reporter the following, and I'll quote, Ernest's condition, considering where he was lost and his lack of protective apparel, is the most amazing thing I have ever seen. End of quotes. He later said that his condition was exceptional. Ernest agreed to talk to one of the reporters just before he was taken back to Seattle. Told the reporter an interesting story. He said, I have had some funny experiences. It's pretty hard to explain. You feel, but you can't tell. I read that like 3 times. One more time. I had some funny experiences. It's pretty hard to explain. You feel, but you can't tell. That's what he said. Now let's stop here for a second. If you're new to Missing 411 and you don't understand what I've just said and the relevance to what we do, this might not be really important. If you're a seasoned villager, junior investigator, you know what I just told you is important. So let's go by a few things. First of all, does the victim, Ernest, have an injury or disability not obvious to the observer? Yes, he did. Ernest had a head injury in the military, it was reported. Nothing that precluded him from daily activities, nothing that greatly inhibited his lifestyle, and nothing that caused his service in the military to be cut short. But they did say this several times, that he did have this injury. Why is that important? That's a profile point in the Missing 411 system. Did the victim lose or miss clothes or shoes? Why, yes, he did. Ernest stripped his clothes. Was the weather cold? No, it wasn't. It was warm. It's about 90 degrees. So why would he strip his clothes? If he stripped his clothes, why wouldn't you just strip them and drop them in one place? It was described that they were dropped along a route down the mountain. And this manner of dropping clothes has been explained in the past in other cases. It's almost as though the victim was moving somehow and dropping the clothes as they were moving. Where did Ernest disappear? He disappeared on Granite Mountain. Yeah, Granite Mountain. Granite is a profile point. Where is the biggest amount of granite in the world? Yosemite National Park. And where in the world has the most disappearances of missing 411 victims? Yosemite National Park. Now in this area, there's 3 people missing. He is the 3rd. Water. Tracks were found near lakes. He was eventually found at a cabin adjacent to a river. Water. A profound element in all cases like this. Super important. What was Ernest's nationality? He was German. He was born in Germany. Now living in Kalispell when he wasn't in school. Why is that important? Seems to me that there's more Germans that disappear than any other nationality. Point 6, point of separation. I want you to really think hard on this one. He was with 69 other students and an instructor, and in the presence of the lookout tender. Somehow or another, he slipped away and no one saw him leave. How is that possible? Remember in Missing 411, A Sobering Coincidence, I talk about people in a bar And so many times someone disappears, nobody sees him go, nobody sees him leave, nobody sees where he went, there's no tracks leaving the location, and then they're found in a body of water, unknown cause of death. Kind of sounds like Ernest's case, doesn't it? Nobody sees him leave. He's stripped down to his underwear, no shoes, clothes strewn around a mountain. Point 7. Canine bloodhounds. A bloodhound claimed to have found a scent trail just briefly on Ernest and was on it, and then lost it quickly. Then trackers claimed to have found tracks near a lake, lost those quickly. Trackers and the canine did not locate or even lead to where Ernest was located. How is that possible? Canines didn't work, as they don't work in the majority of these cases. Lack of memory. Ernest states he doesn't remember the afternoon he disappeared or the following day. Why? How many incidents have we talked about regarding lack of memory? Again, I've told you this 100 times, but for the new people, I've been a MUFON investigator for a long, long time. One thing that's consistent with people who are abducted is that many, many, many times they don't have any memory about what happened to them. How they were impregnated, how their semen was taken, how something may have been implanted on them. They don't have any memory of any of this. In Ernest, no memory of the time he disappeared or while he was gone. Missing clothes, missing shoes. He lost both of these on Granite Mountain. And think about this. If he had remembered that he stripped his clothes, well, when it gets down to like 30 or 40 degrees up in those mountains at night, don't you think maybe he'd go back and get those clothes? Put his shoes on? Do you think? I think so. But he didn't. Every profile point we developed existed in this case. Cluster zone. This is the third case in this area and now qualifies as a cluster zone. I know that there's thousands of cases around the world that fit our profile that I've never even heard of. Whether you're from New Zealand, Australia, Canada, UK, Africa, there's cases all over the world. For the new people, you say, well, Dave, it sure seems like these cases, it must be a serial killer. Well, not in the conventional sense, but pure wording, yeah. If you're completely new to the topic, I want you to go to Tubi, T-U-B-I, online. Google it. Once you get to Tubi, top right corner, type in Missing 411, and our 3 movies are there to watch for free. Missing 411, Missing 411 The Hunted, Missing 411 The UFO Connection. Watch them in that order. Now, it's always easier to get a grasp on something if you read about it. Why is reading important? Because people usually read for a couple hours, put the book down, let it digest, do some critical thinking about it. That's why YouTube is worthless in my mind. It doesn't allow you to do that. People just sit all night and watch stupid videos. Of course, this one is not stupid, but they watch stupid videos and they aren't really learning anything. And remember, YouTube doesn't vet their videos. Books are vetted. Contrary to what you may think, they are. They have editors that go through them. They have a lot of people that read them. And then leave the book an evaluation on Amazon or wherever. This case has profound impacts in my mind. First of all, I've always thought that Washington was one of those places that is critical in understanding the missing 411 profile. The amount of islands that Washington has, the amount of water it has on the land and offshore, the amount of unusual sightings of various things, whether it's UFOs, Bigfoot, the state has it all. I think that people need to understand that what I just delivered to you was a series of facts. I can give you any opinions. I recommended that you do a certain number of things. I asked that you would go out and watch our movies, which are facts. And friends, I want you to know how grateful I am that you are here. I know there's a lot of people that impersonate me. There's hundreds out there online. Steal our stories, steal our work, impersonate and say they're me. Their channels even say missing 411. I don't endorse any of them. And it's only because you're willing to sit here and listen to me and get something from these videos that I'm still here. And hopefully I'll be here in the future. Lastly, and probably the most important thing I can say, the residents of South Carolina, the world changed for them the other day. That hurricane devastated that state and parts of others as well. I wish I lived closer that I could help. But if you are somebody and you have a relative out there, or you live in the Carolinas, you people need to bound together, help each other, be kind to one another, because that is the American way, kindness. Our country was built on a moral standard. With the amount of freedoms we had when our country was established, it hinged daily on us living to a moral way. Again, if we didn't have those freedoms, it really wouldn't have mattered, but it does matter. And I want you to know that every day I walk outside, I'm smiling and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I was born in the United States, and I'm grateful that I have you as my friends. No matter what country you're in, we're all cousins. We need to treat each other that way. Huck's snoring. She's asleep. Thank you. Make sure you're subscribed and make sure you get notifications. Paulides out.